Oh,
All right, so we've just all done a big intro, and
and that was so well said, Jackie, too.
I know Jackie spoke beautifully. Everyone spoke beautifully into itself, and good old Harmony forgets to hit record. It's been a while, guys. It is the first session of 2023, so lucky we hit record before we got into all of the juicy content. Yeah, so thank you so much, Jackie. It's amazing to have you back, and I just encourage you guys to get to these calls as often as possible, whether you're a new student or whether you're an alumni and have done the training in the past. I've just had Emma message. Emma's one of our alumni going, oh my God, I'm getting hijacked by work, but she wanted to jump on as well. And yeah, so the way that the calls are structured this year is different. So the last few cohorts, I've come on and I've lectured, like I've taught with slides and taught the content. But all of the new students, you guys all have that as pre-recorded material. And obviously the alumni have already been through it all. And Ayurveda is such a huge, big journey, and it's so vast, and it includes, the word Ayurveda means the science and study of life and longevity. So it's the science and study of life. We can't just all know it. I certainly don't know it all, but I am so passionate about what I do know, bringing it and sharing it with everybody. And so even after we've gone through all of the content, there's just so much wisdom to draw from it. And I think having a beautiful community like this, we can share our insights. Like, for instance, Jackie, have I been messaging you recently, like going through my own stuff, going, oh my God, girlfriend, I need help.
Yeah.
And
we all do.
created the bond through this program and been able to support each other and keep going, that's just the pitta coming out in you, sharing all this Ayurvedic wisdom back at you, even though I've been teaching it. So I think it's really important that we can draw on each other through all of our training. And that's why I open the floor up to anyone, because we're constantly, well, not anyone in the program, but we're constantly learning about the Ayurvedic wisdom and how we can fully embody it into our own life, so then we can share and teach. And the whole meaning behind embodiment and the Ayurvedic embodiment calls is so that you can tangibly feel, be, or do. That's what embodiment means. So if you're new and you're going through the content and there's like little embodiment tasks, like, when you learn about the yamas and the niyamas, and I know Yoga Sam, you would be learning about this in your yoga teacher training. Like, we ask, which one are you going to concentrate on this year? And I really, this week or whatever it might say, but I'm like, don't just brush over that, like really think about it, because change will happen when you change, and nothing changes if you don't embody and apply the material. We can have all of the information. I mean, look at Google. We've got Google at our fingertips, so we can get any answer to anything. And like all the AI stuff coming out, like we can just get any answer to anything, but that's information. It's not wisdom. Wisdom is when we start to implement it, when we start to embody it, and when we start to feel it, do it, and be it. And that's a difference between an information educator or an information coach and an embodiment coach and an embodiment educator. So hopefully that makes sense to why we're doing these embodiment calls and why I've restructured it, so that you've got all the information through the lectures, and now let's get together, let's share, let's use this as a satsang. Does anyone know the term satsang? Sam, you do?
Heard of it before. It's a real yogi thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Who wants to share what satsang is? So,
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Sam, do you know?
Is it like a meet, like a group where everyone meets? It can be like a chant, like we go through a chant, or like a mantra chant, like within a group, or it can be like a group discussion about a certain topic. We can ask like questions, and then we share the knowledge like within a group, sharing like-minded kind of people.
100%. So it's going deeper on the knowledge and sharing the wisdom and having discussion. So this is a satsang. This is what we're having. These are what the calls are. But I didn't want to call it Ayurveda satsang or everyone that, no one knows the terminology if you haven't done like yoga teacher training or Ayurvedic training. And they'll be like, what is she doing? Ayurvedic satsangs, I'm out. But this is what it is. It's a satsang. So everything here is really, please be open. Please, we're here to support you through your journey, whatever you're going through, and then carry on the conversations in the Facebook group. Really use that to add any more information or questions that you have. So that's all about the embodiment and the reasons for the calls. They are bi-weekly, so every second week, and then so that you have the weeks between the calls to embody, again, the information, but also so you can go and watch the lectures and do some self-study and whatever that may be. So today's subject, and I was thinking, wow, it sounds like a little bit of a somber topic, but I felt really called to speak on this topic, and it's about the balance between surrender and actions in time of uncertainty. Because I feel like I have gone through a lot of this myself recently, and a lot of my clients and friends and family, whoever's reaching out to me, there's been this common theme of this balance between surrendering and action and just being in uncertain times. And I think what happens when we get too much in the doing and too much in the action, which I have been into, is it gives us that false sense of power, and that false sense of power can be taken away from us at any time. And so although it sounds like a bit of a somber topic, I really wanted to solidify it and bring it back to the dimensions of self, so the 5 layers of who we are, so that we can actually anchor ourselves in this teaching, this wisdom, and this training moving forward. And in times of a lot of difficulty where I've had in my life, and I still have it, like, you know, we're spiritual beings, we're human beings, we're having this amazing experience, but there's tough and challenging times. But when I can really peel back the layers of those times, I have used Ayurveda as my anchor. And that is why I'm so passionate about it, because it speaks to our physical health, our physical body. And I came in through a background of health, medical health, but it also speaks to our emotional, our mental, our spiritual, all of the aspects of who we are. And I know, Jackie, you did a beautiful post the other day about it also being like your anchor in times of, you know, crap, basically, as well. So yeah, did you want to share anything about that before I ran?
I guess like Ayurveda has literally been that piece that was probably missing the whole time, you know. And like, as I said, I'm still learning and I'm still evolving, and it's just like this ongoing process of evolution. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Ayurveda, there's just so much wisdom and knowledge and just simple little practices, or, you know, just knowing that we are more than just this physical body. We are that a mental, emotional body, that spiritual body. And yeah, we can get very caught up in the physical elements of our life and all the doing. But yeah, I guess it's more about being as well. And like when I read the topic, I was like, surrender. I was like, oh shit, I need to get on this call today, because that's, you know, you do, like I'm in that point where I'm struggling between, as in the action. I feel like sometimes when we're in that action mode all the time, we lose that connection to what's really true to us. And that's when we can surrender, we can tap into that. But if we're always in that action mode, like we get too much in the mind and not back into the heart, into the spirit, and why we're actually here on this path, on this journey, and like why we've enrolled into the course. Like there's something more, and that's our spirit, our soul self, our higher self speaking to us. So it's like we need to sometimes let the physical get out of the way and reconnect back to the spiritual body and the higher self. So yeah. Ayurveda is that anchor, so is yoga, but you know, as they're one and the same, like they're sister sciences. So yeah.
Beautiful. Mic drop moment, Jackie. Love it. And continue the conversation. I think you speak it better than I do.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, she's good, isn't she?
Yeah.
So I also, you know, was speaking to a friend the other day, and like I said, I felt like I'd hit a wall. It is a really strange time, and I'll be open with you, a strange time in business. I don't know if it's the same for you, Michelle, with product based, but it's just a little bit funny at the moment this time of year. And I was like, I was completely burnt out by the end of last year. I was like seeing clients right up until I went to Bali, and I love it and it's amazing and everything. But, you know, trying to then structure a launch for the Ayurveda Alchemist program, all of these things I was like hustling to do whilst being up in my head too much and just striving and being in that full action mode, full masculine energy. I wasn't allowing any of that feminine flow. And then when I did try, I was just like, oh, I was feeling agitated, like my pitta dosha was just being like burning up. And I was like, oh, and that sort of, yeah. My friend shared this with me, that when you encounter a wall, you should tell yourself that since there is a wall here, a wide open expanse must be on the other side. And I thought that was really beautiful, because it asks us to remind ourselves how far we've actually come, because you've actually had to journey to that wall, right? To get over that wall. And I think I was sharing on the phone with you, Sam, yesterday, this chant that I absolutely love. And it's one that helps remove these obstacles and get through the walls. And that's the Om Nam Ganapataye Namaha. And I can share that in the Facebook group if you like, but it's a beautiful chant that you can listen to in the car or before you start the day. Like I even listened to it before this satsang, so I could get myself amped up. For me, it brings that beautiful energy, that clarity of being able to see these obstacles move, because we are always going to hit walls, whether it's with our study in this program, whether it's in life in general, whether it's in our relationships. Walls are always going to be there to say, hey, like something's misaligned here. And I'm just seeing what Sam's, I listened to this one also, remover. Yes, remover of all obstacles, Ganeshi chant, absolutely. So yeah, we are going to have those walls that come up. And I've got in the very first, so the Start Here module of the course, there is a contract to self. So it's nothing you have to sign and send to me. It's a contract to yourself. And so I really highly suggest that you print that out. And Jackie, if you want it, any alumni wants it, I can email it or send it through or even share it in the Facebook group. But if you read that and you sign that to yourself, to hold yourself in self-regard and know that, yeah, walls are going to come up, but I can move through them because there's expansion on the other side. And I don't know if any of you guys have done Tough Mudder. Have any of you guys done anything like Tough Mudder?
I've done something similar, yeah.
It's like a huge, all these obstacles in your way, and you get through mud, and I like ice baths, and you've got to climb the highest. I've got a fear of heights, and I had to conquer that because I'm so competitive. My pitta come out. But, when you finish it, when you get over all of those obstacles, you just go, man, like, look at, like, you see the open field and you're just like, wow, I'm here. Like, I feel so like ready, and I feel so invigorated. And it's because you've been able to break through those walls, as opposed to just sitting and slumping down on the other side and leaning against it going, oh shit, well, here's another wall to get through. I'm just going to stay here now. This is going to be my little confined place within these walls. Hell no, we're going to break out of that, right? So I really suggest to sign that contract to self. And talking about the self, I do want to go deeper on what that means. And Michelle H., it would be really interesting, because you obviously will have a whole different psychological point of view of things from like the Ayurvedic point of view. So if you have anything to share, please, please share along the way. And I'm just read Sam's comment. I wish I had the version from the Ayurvedic retreat as his voice reduced. Reduced. I didn't hear that. I didn't get that version. I don't think I heard that. But I'm sure we can find it on Spotify. Well, I'll have a look at all of them. So when we're looking at the dimensions of self, so like we know, as Jackie mentioned, we're not just a physical body. We have a lot of dimensions of who we are. But I also think sometimes in the spiritual world, people can get caught up in trying to dissociate from their body altogether. But it's actually our physical body where we can feel all of the layers. We get to sense all of the layers within us. So it is really important to be able to look after our physical self, our vessel. And that is where Ayurveda really teaches us how to bring that balance in and look after the physical body through nutrition, through lifestyle medicine, through things like yoga, movement, chanting, all of these amazing tools that we have to be able to customize it to our body so that we can have a feeling and a sense of all of the aspects of ourselves. So the first dimension is the physical body, the deha in Sanskrit. So deha, the physical body, the physical manifestation of self. So we have incarnated here in this time, in this place, in this physical body to have this experience as both a human and a spiritual being. And I know I was really struggling with having these two sides of me, like having this physical side that loves, you know, to chase abundance and have material wealth and all of that. But I'm actually, you know, a spiritual teacher. I'm a yogi. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner. And then I should just be like a barefoot hippie like my parents were. And not that they were like doing any spiritual enlightening things, but, you know, like I had that struggle between these two aspects of me. And it wasn't until I started pulling back the layers of what each of them meant to me. And I was like, well, you know, for this spiritual self, like, why is that so important for me to allow that to be present and to show that part of me? And really all it was ascending. It was to be of service. And what is being of service? What is sharing wisdom? It is allowing me to be my higher self and follow my dharmic path and be a bhakti yogi where I can be of service and of devotion. But then when I was looking at, well, then why am I so caught up still in this material world and my material self and abundance and wanting this good life? I was like, well, because I get to have fun in this human existence. I get to be me as a spiritual being, but as a human, I chose to be here right now. And, you know, part of this experience is having fun. And what does that abundance get you? Well, it gets you time with friends and family. It gets you living your path of Dharma in a way where you can really express yourself on the physical sense. And so both of them were actually my higher self. And it's when I allowed them to merge together, I can really see that there's no right and wrong in who we are. There's so many aspects of us. And we'll learn this more when we go into the doshas. People really identify with one or, you know, one of the doshas. Say, I'm so vata, I'm so pitta, I'm so kapha, but we're all three. And when we can start to understand and see all aspects of ourselves, that's when we can really start to bring more balance into our life. And that's also and I'll be getting to how these dimensions help us balance between the surrender and the action. So the second dimension of ourself is the heart, mind, energy body, the chitta. And we have, in Ayurveda, we speak about the heart being the first mind. So we obviously have our brain, and in Ayurveda, again, that has so many thinking aspects. We have the buddhi, the intellect, the chitta, the higher intellect. We have the manas, which is the thinking, the memory, and we have the ahamkara, which is the ego and where we identify the self. And we'll be learning this in a different module. But there are so many aspects of the mind that we have to control. And that's why it's really hard to control our thoughts and our emotions in our mind, because there's so many different aspects. And it's generally the ahamkara, the ego mind, which is neither bad or good, but it's that one we've conditioned so much. And so in Ayurveda, we also speak about the heart being the first mind. And so with the heart, we're not just speaking about the organ, but we're speaking about the energetics of the heart, mind, body connection. And then the third dimension of self is prana, is life force energy. And this is, a lot of people translate prana or life force energy to our breath, but prana is carried in the breath. It's not actually the breath itself. Prana is in any living thing. So when we are human, like when we're here, when we're alive, we're obviously full of prana. But if you have ever seen a deceased person, you can see that, you know, they've gone, and I'm a nurse from an emergency department, so I'm sorry if it's a bit weird to say. I've seen a few, but you you know, the luster out of their cheeks, all of the soul essence that they had in a human form has gone. That's the prana. It's not just the breath that we breathe, the energy in our body. It is the luster, it's the energy, it's the vibrancy. It's a part of the ojas and the tejas and the prana. Ojas, tejas, and prana are the subtle energies of the body. So prana, life force energy. Ojas is that vitality and that strength, and tejas is that fire and that movement and that strength and passion. So yeah, so that is the other part. The prana is the life force of the body. And then we have the transcendent void, the shunya, and this is the sort of the emptiness. It's like the emptiness we have in a deep dreamless sleep, or that place we get in meditation, because we're not generally getting to complete awareness. Well, I'm, you know, not getting to this complete awakened awareness in a state of meditation, but you can get to this void, this emptiness space. And that is one that a lot of us don't allow ourselves to get into enough. And when we can't, when we don't get there, when we don't allow for that space with this surrender and just that being, we fill ourselves with too much chatter of the mind and too much thought and too much action and masculine and egoic state. And this is where we can get really caught in our own way. So trying to reach more of that shunya through grounding, through meditation, through knowing that it's part of us and that it's accessible for us. And one of the ways that I really like to access it very easily is actually by doing some breath work. So let's just all do it together. So just gently close your eyes. Just take a big inhale through the nose. And a long exhale out through the mouth. And then inhale for the count of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Gently pause at the top of the breath. Then exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. A gentle pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then inhale, just to the own rhythm of your own breath. Inhale, pause at the top. Gently exhale, pause. And just keep going in your own time. And notice the pause at the top and the bottom of the breath. That's the stillness, the void, the shunya. So being able to quickly access it through the breath, those gentle pauses, without thought fluttering in, because you're not having a long enough time of a pause, but you're allowing for that space. And gently opening your eyes. So could you feel that shunya, that void, that space between the inhales and the exhales? Can anyone sort of understand what that dimension of self is? It's just that place of peace, but not in the doing. It's complete surrender, and it's just that pause. And it's a place that we don't access enough. And sometimes it can be really hard when you're in your thinking mind, when the ahamkara is just screaming at you and you've got all these things to do and you're so used to action because you're so worried if you're not doing, you're not achieving. That to feel that void, to feel that space can feel really scary. And so I do come back to this a lot of the time when I'm really trying to get into all dimensions of self, because Ayurveda says that suffering arises as a result of a failure to perceive the whole of your being, which means all of these dimensions of self, rather than just up in your head, just, feeling from the heart, just you know, just breathing, just being, but when we can actually, when we're not encompassing all of us, all of who we are, then that's when suffering can arise. And Ayurveda teaches us to know when we need to take that sacred pause, when we need to feel that void, when we need to just be in that space. The fact is, it's harder, it's easier to say than do. But if I'm in that space of constant doing, constant being, and I know that I've got to really encounter and allow for that shunya, I will just come back to that breath. And even if I feel it momentarily, I'm giving my body and my mind those little tiny, you know, aspects of space that they need. And again, working with the element. So that's the ether element of vata, but in a really controlled way. And we'll learn more about that in the doshas. And then the fifth dimension of the self is the chitta, the power of awareness, like our full embodied awareness. And this is the most inner self within the conditional self. So all of the other aspects of us, we have conditioned to a certain degree or conditioned who we are. But this sense of awareness is so much greater than that. It's the inner self around or within the conditioned self. And when you go and you learn the Ayurvedic philosophy lesson, you'll learn about Purusha and Prakriti. And we also have a teacher coming in to speak about the Sankhya philosophy in more detail as well, because it takes a lot to understand it, to be honest, and to really absorb it. Like I said, I'm still always learning. But the Purusha is that ever being vast consciousness of the world, and the Prakriti is the physical manifest. So with this awareness that we are, our inner being is complete awareness. I feel that it's all like a lot of people who go on the yogi path, a spiritual path, whatever, they always trying to reach this enlightened, this awareness state. And that's beautiful and that's amazing. But it can be very, very fleeting. And if you're constantly chasing something, then there's that attachment to it. And then we're not actually being and embodying all 5 layers of ourself, the physical manifest of who we are. We're always trying to chase something bigger than what we are, which is, yes, there's a bigger energy, but at the same time, we also need to come back to our physical manifest as we are and be able to embody all of that before we can start to reach this higher sense of awareness. And that's what Ayurveda does. It really starts to help with the physical body, as I mentioned, the mind, the heart, the spiritual aspects. And that's what we're doing throughout the program. So we can maybe start to touch in on that awareness. And look, hey, I don't think I'm ever going to be enlightened in this lifetime. Maybe the next lifetime, I'm not going to transcend. We're all here learning. And we always have these lessons that get put in front of us, which we may see as obstacles, we may see as those walls. But until we've learned that lesson, that a new wall, a new obstacle presenting the same essence of that lesson is always going to present itself. And that is part of our dharma, and it is part of our karma. So when we talk of dharma, we often think we have to have this big worldly big purpose, but our dharma is right action and consciousness in everything that we do. So like for Jackie, that would be her dharma is today might be when she walks into that yoga studio and she teaches the yoga from her heart. That is her dharma. And Michelle, you might be packaging your beautiful products and you are like, this is your dharma. And then your daughter needs you and you're like, you're attending to her and you're doing it with full love and consciousness. That is your dharma in the moment. There's nothing, I mean, it's beautiful to be able to tie your dharma with your career path, but it's not, that isn't it. That isn't the essence of dharma and purpose. It is being able to consciously live in the right way and right action every day, no matter what you're doing, even washing the dishes. And that takes you closer and closer to shunya, the awareness. and that inner self. So I think the other thing well, first of all, before I go on, does anyone have anything they would like to add or say? I'll open it for discussion, because you know me, I can talk.
It was so well said, though. I think everything was beautiful. I think you're so right and I think, like Jackie said it too, it is a constant practice. Like Louise Hay even says that it wasn't like she went, oh yeah, now I know the everything and I do truly get it. She's like, it is constantly practicing. So I guess even like you said, like when you are washing the dishes, it is a really simple thing right there that you can therapeutically kind of be conscious to just wash the dishes. Like it actually creates good practice in those small things that are quite mundane. So, and I think the breath work that you were just saying and what we just did there, I mean, that's just so powerful and like so simple in our day. And yet I still struggle to find the time to do it sometimes, but I know how life-changing it is.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we're scared to step out of the familiar too, which is, you know, all of a sudden we go, oh, that does feel heaps better, but it's easier back in that old self.
Yeah, totally.
I know that guy.
Exactly, because our hamkara, it feels safe there. It's what keeps us safe, because it's what we already know. We know those patterns, and when we get into those limiting core belief sessions later in the program, it's like we're already conditioned to those patterns. We know them, even if it is drama, even if it is toxicity, it's like familiar, so it's easy for us. So thank you. That is like such an important point. And it's when we can start to break those patterns, even with those little micro changes. And that might be every hour setting a 2-minute timer or a 1-minute timer on your clock just to do the breath, so you can feel into the shunya, that space, and to recalibrate the system and come back into your body. Because I think what I was trying to, I guess, say is like, I feel sometimes the spiritual world has made us feel like the body, we're not the body either, like, but we're all part of everything. And so we do need to come back into the body, because often we're up in the mind and we're out here, we're in the vastness, you know, the vata mind that's always thinking and, you know, got so many ideas and flighty. It's because it's the ether, it's out there, but we need to bring it back. And I think, like you said, washing the dishes, the mundane, boring tasks, we can either, you know, have like, oh, this is crap, this is the shittiest task mindset, and it's going to be even shittier because that's what your the energetic vibration that you're washing the dishes in. Or it can be of acceptance. Yeah, it's not my favorite task, but I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to use this dishwashing time to breathe. And, you know, at least I'm multitasking. All the pitters in here will be like, yeah, multitasking, getting it done. So, yeah, I think I've had a client once, and you know, I mostly see women for hormonal imbalances and PMDD, and she came in for hormonal stuff, but there was a lot going on in her life, and she was basically just feeling really like she lacked purpose, and she hated doing the mundane housewife stuff, but she hated her job, but she wanted to work more, so she didn't have to do the housewife stuff, so the husband would do more, and it was like this cascade of events and stuff. And I'm like, you know, we spoke about just doing the mundane tasks, and how can we just either accept them or make them joyful? Because when we learn about the mahagunas of the mind, so you have the tamasic state, which is the dullness, inertia, pissed offness, whatever you want to call it, the darker state. If you're doing the actions in that, it's never going to be fun, you know, or anything. So I introduced her to the Sanskrit chants, like the Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha and all of those beautiful chants. I gave her a playlist on Spotify, and she listens to that now when she does the mundane task, cleaning the house. And she kind of not enjoys it, but she looks forward to it, because that's when she listens to those chants, and they have a really strong vibrational resonancy to the heart and to the mind and to the body, a really high vibration. So it automatically lifts her vibration. And I've had to do that. Like, I'm very open with all you guys. You know way too much about me and my business, but I'm very open. Like, I have had to do a lot of this in the last month or so, just to lift my own vibration. So it is really powerful, the tools that we have that we forget that we can use and we can pass on to clients. So it wasn't the herbs I gave her, it wasn't all the lifestyle advice, it wasn't like the, you know, the blood work that I looked through for her. It was the chants that worked for her, and everyone is so different. So yeah, I think it's really important to know that. And I think the other thing to note when we're trying to strive for this balance between surrender and action, and where, you know, how do we manage that in times of uncertainty? Because when we have uncertainty, there's probably two different types of people. Either the people that like try to control it all by doing things and pushing harder, and that's generally often me, so I get that. We're like trying to have this false sense of controlling the situation by pushing harder. And then there's the people that just sort of like hold back and go really reclusive and like surrender, but not from a good place. They're just like helpless, you know, feeling helplessly surrendered. And so where is that balance between those two places? And I think that when we start to attach to having to, you know, in these two extremes, or when there's uncertain times, we have to come back to that realization that everything is unstable and it's forever changing, except for that one truth of consciousness, complete awareness. Complete awareness is the only constant thing, right? Everything, our body, our mind, our relationships, our environment, everything is unstable and ever changing. So there will always be uncertainty. And when we identify with this, then we can come to a place where we're at a lot more peace with our decisions around having to surrender or having to create action, but from a place of knowing that it's okay that we don't have control over everything, because we're never going to have control. Like, look at all of the world disasters that have gone, the natural disasters, you know, the cyclones that have gone on, the fires, the floods. If anything, Mother Nature always teaches us we are never in control. And this is the hardest thing for a Pitta dosha, for someone who's very Pitta minded, to accept. And when we can start to realize that everything is unstable and ever changing, we are just part of nature and we are always ever changing with it. And it's not to say that it's not healthy to you know, have strategy and plans, because that's really important for the doshas to feel stable. But it's to not be so attached to that. And that is the hardest thing for a human mind, because I mentioned that there is 5 layers or dimensions of the self, but there's actually this 6th one. So it's not truly the self, but there's this 6th dimension that we speak of in Ayurveda. It's the vastu, and that is your stuff and your material environment around you. It's how we experience and identify with our material existence. For instance, like when you say I am poor or I am wealthy, or I, you know, when you're identifying with this material existence. And it's not to say that it's bad to chase abundance and this beautiful material existence, looping back to the start of the talk when I said I was challenging with this, because Artha, which is one of the 4 goals of life according to Ayurveda, is to be able to have this abundance. But it's the attachment you then have to that manifestation of your material existence and world. And when we have failure to perceive our whole being, the 5 layers, and we have too much attachment to this material wealth, the status of our business, the relationships we have, getting the rental place that we want, or buying the house that we want, or whatever it might look like, the car that we want, you know, when we start to attach meaning to these things and attachment to the outcome of these things, that's when we have the suffering. So it's fine to enjoy them, and it's fine to accumulate, and to enjoy your life here, but it's also to see it for what it is. So they are the dimensions of the self, the 5 layers, and then the sixth layer, the attachment to the external world. And then how Ayurveda helps us balance between the surrender and the action is to really, truly, deeply start to understand ourselves and our own patterns, because we're the only ones that can understand our own conditioned patterns, our conditioned self, which is all of the layers other than the awareness, the eternal self. So everything else is conditioned. And so when we can start to recognize layers of self, then we can start to say, hey, what do I need to do here to bring us back into balance? And that's exactly what Ayurveda does. It helps us understand our dosha, understand our psychology, our mind, and throughout the program, that is what you'll learn. So when you're reading and watching the modules between these satsangs, make sure that you absorb the information and bring any questions you have, so we can go a lot deeper in on that, so that truly by the end of it, you can have a really solid understanding of yourself, because from that place, then you can start to help others and share and get them to see it within themselves as well. But first we have to see it within ourselves. So does that make sense? Anyone have anything to add to that?
Yeah,
Jack?
that was amazing.
Awesome. Hey, Tess. You now. Hello, beautiful. How are you? You still muted. That's all good. Yeah, does anyone have anything they would like to share about what we spoke about, or any further questions? Got a few more minutes left. Samantha, are you still awake? You must be so tired, my dear. She has had such a big week. Sorry, Sam, there's another Samantha. Yeah, Samantha.
I was going to ask on that, actually. I'm sure in here, I've just been loving reading like quite a few books around this at the moment. Like it's interesting, everything that you just said then. I'm like, and we said divine timing, like it all happens at the right time. But maybe if there's any really great books, that you guys, Jackie, anyone has read along the way that you'd like to share, do they get sort of shared in the Facebook group or?
Yeah, sure, we can absolutely do that. On the first so Start Here module, there's 3 recommended textbooks that I recommend for the program. And Acharya Shunya, so she's written the lifestyle medicine one. She has some really, really cool, not novel, like actual books that I'm reading her Raw Like a Goddess at the moment. And so that's why I'm so inspired to bring in the goddess energy into these calls. I'm going to start talking about the goddesses soon. But she's an Ayurvedic guru. So she's an actual guru from a lineage of Ayurvedic practitioners and doctors and Vedic Sanskrit scholars, and she just has a lot of wisdom to share. So she's got a really good one. And I just got a book, I'll have to put it in the group because I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's like Yoga and the Mind, and it talks about the Ayurvedic psychology of the mind as well. But yeah, Jackie, do you have any that you?
Not that I can think of. Like I remember when I first did the program, like there was those 3 books that you had recommended, The Perfect Health and the Lifestyle Medicine one. I love that book. I was listening to that on audio, so that I would definitely recommend that one. And she's really, as you said, she's got that lineage of Ayurveda, so that's really powerful. And I love her little stories that she shares in that book as well. So yeah, I'd definitely say probably Perfect Health and that Lifestyle Medicine one.
And then other ones like even like Helen Jacobs, like what is she? It's Follow Your Heart. I've got that one at the moment, which is really great because it goes in like what you're talking about, really healing yourself. it talks about methods of how we do that too. So yeah, it's also, I guess, that kind of book too, you know, because obviously it really gets you into the awareness of self.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's, you know, that is all what Ayurveda is about, is it's just cultivating more self-awareness and helping others to do the same. So we can do that through a number of tools, but we do have to get the body health, like the body and the mind, they're so intricately connected. And so we do need the body to be healthy to help the mind. We need the mind to be healthy to help the body, to regulate our emotions. As physical women, we have hormones, which are different chemical messengers going on in the body. And so even in like the women's health module, like I talk about the hormones from even a clinical standpoint, because it's really important to know that there's so much going on within us. Like there's just so much more than just a thinking mind and a physical body. And yeah, it's just cultivating this awareness so we can work out how we can bring it back to a more balanced state of being. Yeah, and healing self. Beautiful.
I love it.
Yay. Does anyone else have any questions or would like to add? So I just really encourage you guys, like if you do have any questions, pop them in the Facebook group. And even if you have any topics that you really want to go deep on, pop them in the Facebook group as well, so I can prepare and make sure that I'm up to date, but also just so that I can really come with the energy that I need and prepare for that. And yeah, just I really encourage you guys to be really active in the community, because like I said, when we can really start to embody the practice, it is such a beautiful self-healing tool, and then one that you can share with the others. And if you are one of the new students, then make sure that you're watching those lectures in between the calls so that you can start to understand that the foundations of everything that we're speaking of. The first, actually next week is a lecture. We're talking about metaphysical healing. So this all might sound a little bit woo, but I start with the philosophy and the psychology and the metaphysical before we go into more of the physical aspects of Ayurveda, like Ayurveda nutrition, lifestyle, dinacharya, all of that. Because I think it's really important to know that at the core, it's just so much more than a lot of people think, the doshas and the diet and scraping your tongue. So yeah, I think it's important to understand it on like the deeper level. And it's where a lot of the big change happens as well. So, yeah.
So does that mean there's a call next week as well?
Oh, sorry, did I say next week? Fortnightly. So the next time this call is on, which is in a fortnight, I'm actually going to be talking about metaphysical, the metaphysical healing and metaphysical body. And on the calls, it looks like the Tuesday was popular, but would you like to move it forward an hour? Like is 9 o'clock better for everybody, which is 9 o'clock Queensland, but for everyone else in here, it's a different time.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's 11 o'clock here in Queensland. I mean, daylight saving does end. I don't know, when does it end? March? It probably ends soon.
I think so.
Yeah. What's better, 9 or 10? Probably stop. I might stop this recording. Do you guys have a preference?
Does it have to be Tuesday? Does it have to be Tuesday?
Sorry, hang on. But Tess, what did you say? Sorry.
Have I turned my microphone on?
Oh yeah, you're on. We can hear
you. It doesn't matter to me. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon here.
Okay, all right. Do you have daylight saving? Does your time change throughout the years? Because mine doesn't, but everyone else's seems to.
Yeah, so we'll go back an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, would it suit you guys an hour earlier? What about Michelle?
Just like Wednesday an hour earlier suit me, buddy?
Wednesday 9. I think no one voted for it. I mean, you can go and vote on the poll, but yeah, put it out there.
Okay.
But at the moment, the votes were for a Tuesday still, but at 9 instead of 10. But vote, because you never know. I want to accessible. The only thing is I've got all of the guest experts. I'll have to see if they can change around their times. An hour earlier would definitely be better for Samantha Morris. Yes.
Same
So
for me too.
and you, an hour.
Yeah, because I have a recurring meeting every Tuesday at the 11 o'clock for me. So yeah, it would be great. That'd be better.
And Sam can't do Wednesdays because it clashes with her NLP training. So what if we did 9 o'clock Tuesdays?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that all right? And because you've got your daughter, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
This makes it a bit challenging. They're pretty, toddlers are needy.
Yes, very needy. Yeah, she's always welcome to come on the call.
I know, but that's okay though. It's totally fine. I'll work around it.
Otherwise we can put it in the group. The other thing would be Thursday time, but that would probably have to be 10. Anyway, there's a poll in the group if you want to comment on it, if you want whatever, we can have a look. But yeah, let's just let's just keep in mind that it'll probably go 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, which will at least be a bit earlier for you, Michelle, with your little girl. So then you've got the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Is that better earlier?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially when it changes to like 9 o'clock when it's our time, it'll be even better, So yeah, it's fine.
Then you can just do it and then you've got the whole rest of the day. Awesome. Let's stay connected in the Facebook group, but let's keep in mind it's probably 9 o'clock Tuesdays, unless something drastically changes.
Okay.
Alrighty, so good to meet you on. Thank you everybody for coming along. And like I said, I encourage you to come as many of these as you can, because this is where we get to go deeper. And as we feel more comfortable opening up with each other, we'll really get into the content. And
thanks, Harmony. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was amazing. Nice to meet you all too.
Yeah,
thank you, ladies.
Bye. Yeah, have an amazing day.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Tess, for coming. So glad you jumped in.
I'm not very